Well, first of all, I wanted to apologize on the behalf of Zach Davis for the elbow that he threw at one of their players, number 4. So that's not like Zach. That's a misrepresentation of who he is as a person, certainly as a player. He got caught up in the moment, felt like maybe he had gotten fouled, and that was retaliatory. So, but I do want to apologize to everyone in Florida Gator Nation, honestly, for that, just because that's not indicative of who he is as a player or what we do as a program. So, but aside from that, it was a physical game. They played well. We did enough in the first half defensively to be at an 8-point deficit. Didn't play well offensively, but I thought we got a couple things done defensively in the first half, and then in the second half, we just weren't able to sustain that. And then we couldn't keep pace with not only not defending at the level that we wanted to, but then also we were still struggling to put the ball in the basket.
Questions? Colin?
What was the biggest issue defensively, especially in the second half, where it seemed like they were able to kind of get out of transition and convert the rim?
Yeah, I have to look at what the direct correlation between turnovers and transition was with them, but my sense is that there was a significant portion of that was attributable to turnover or quick shot. I mean, not quick. I don't mind a good quick shot. Quick shot that wasn't a great look, maybe. Long rebound, which ends up being an outlet pass in transition sometimes. So that would be my guess, was that a lot of it was directly caused by that. But it was that. We played some zone as well. They attacked it better in the second half, but still, as I looked over and asked one of my assistant coaches, they were at 7 points on 7 possessions, so at 1 point per possession. Those aren't damning numbers. Honestly, probably should have run a little bit more of it in the second half. But again, our defense and offense were connected, and not in a way that defense leads it. It was, if offense is going well, we play better defensively, and so I think that had to do with part of the reason why we struggled to sustain the energy that we had on the defensive end.
With Hayden, this is a couple straight games where he just hasn't been able to stay on the court. How much does that impact you when he gets into foul trouble like that, not able to be out there?
Yeah, it hurts us big time. It hurts us in a variety of ways. One is just from a rotational standpoint. Guys got to play more minutes. Guys got to play out of position sometimes. I think that's one way. And then he's shown he can be a good player for us also. So it hurts us. I have to look at those. This is the second game in a row where it was 2 offensive fouls. And I'm one to say, I mean, when a guy charges, like I look at at the Auburn game, one time he ran over the guy. I mean, what are you going to do? It's a charge. But I'm not sure on how I feel about, like, I got to brush up on what post defense and offense looks like, I think. Just because it's a hard way to get your first foul was on a situation where I think a guy's, and I mean, I'm not intentionally being critical, I'm just thinking out loud. It appears he's trying to go around the defender versus an intent to go through a defender. And so we just have to work on doing that a little bit better. But when you get 2 offensive fouls like that early, it's it's hard. You're out of rhythm, completely out of rhythm. You have no flow. You haven't even sweat. I put him back in there in the first half just because, I just don't think a guy can sit for that long and then have any chance to be an effective player in the second half. So I put him back in there, and then it was more of the same for him on the foul, from the foul standpoint.
How do you think Gigi Jackson handled kind of the matchup with Castleton? He's one of the better interior defenders in the league. And how do you think, I guess he's still at 20, how he dealt with that challenge?
you know, I evaluate Gigi differently, you know, maybe than most. I just, for me, it's constantly about how aggressive is he being at attacking the basket, particularly. Can he generate shots? That'll be the next step. If he can attack consistently and then generate shots for other guys. And then how is he handling the emotions of the game? He's a young guy. Every place that we play is the most hostile environment for him. People can't wait to say something about him. Fans, players, cheerleaders, social media lights. And so I'm constantly aware of how he's handling things and what's going on and what's his body language look like. And he's been really good. Again, you know, particularly when we play a game in the second half and we don't play well. That's hard to do for anybody. It's hard to do when you're a young guy to handle that stuff. So I had a good conversation with him after I pulled him out for the last time. Told him about where we're going and what we're doing and what the process looks like, and you know, talked to him honestly about him and his long-term future a little bit, and what it looks like for him from a non-basketball standpoint. So I thought he did a good job of handling the circumstances. I don't think he really. It's not about a specific matchup too many times with him, but you're in a hostile environment. They were physical. I thought overall he did a pretty good job.
Florida's won 5 of their last 6. Just what's your impression of what's been working for them and what's clicking?
Yeah, Castleton's a good player. He's being effective on both sides of the ball. He's being extremely effective on both sides of the ball. Typically a guy that's got his size and ability to move and feel for the game. He's got good hands. You are more prone to affect one side of the ball in a real way, and he's doing it both. He's doing both. He's rebounding the ball. He's altering, if not blocking, shots at the rim, and then he's generating offense in a couple of different ways. Not only as a scorer when he gets the ball, not only as a scorer, as he is a rim runner and offensive rebounder, but he can facilitate also and has a good feel for where guys are going to be. He's got a good pace to him. He's an older guy. He's looking for guys as they cut. He plays at a good pace. It's the number one factor for players to me, honestly, is the pace at which they play. It affects your decisions. Again, if you took a freeze frame of any particular moment in a basketball game, I think I'd have a 0 turnover percentage in my entire career. But the game goes fast, bud. There's people talking and yelling and things are happening. So, you know, he slows the game down. He does. He's been in college for a while, but he slows the game. And I don't want to say that because that's the only reason why he does that. Some guys are better at doing that. He's a good player.
Lamont, you didn't get much out of your 2-point guards tonight. Just how tough is that from an offensive standpoint to execute the guards to start giving you enough?
Yeah, extremely. I don't know where that fits in the parameters, but extremely. It's extremely challenging if those guys don't make some shots, put pressure on the defense, you know, even if they're not making shots, just to get downhill, get a body into a guy, get to the free throw line, generate a lot of attention, throw it to another guy. We did it sporadically. We got Josh a dunk, you know, sporadically we did some of that, but you know, those have to be staples of what you're going to do. We got a lot of good defensive teams in this conference, and so you got to find different ways that you can generate stuff, and most of those have to do with guys seeing a situation, whether that's right in transition, a ball screen happens in a set. I mean, sets, it's not quite as much. I think, you know, the set either works or it doesn't work for the most part. But as you get into free flow play, like you got to play, you got to see stuff, you got to react to stuff, you got to attack a matchup, you got to make plays. And when those guys aren't doing that, it's more difficult. You know, Gigi can do some of that also. We're asking him to do some of that. We're trying to expedite his growth by doing that, but we need 1 or 2 other guys to be able to do some of that stuff just in terms of generation of offense, generation of good situations for other guys, whether it's yourself or for someone else.
How good were Florida's guards defensively at forcing your guards out of their comfort zone, making you set up maybe a couple steps beyond where they really like to, et cetera?
You know, they were physical at times. They tried to ice some of the ball screens. They tried to muscle us off of some points. You know, the refs did a good job. I'm not here to criticize those guys, but you know, at the same time, there were some things that, you know, the game, we like to call it a certain way, and the way players are always going to adapt to what the officials are. They always are going to do that because every player wants to be in the game. That's why if Hayden Brown had stayed in there longer, I bet you those would have been the only 2 charges, right? He's probably going to be a little more careful on the offensive side of it. But they were physical. You know, there were some physical plays, and that it impacted our guys' ability to play comfortably and maybe get downhill, and just to get to the places that they wanted to get to was a little more challenging.
Some of the losses have started to string together now. How do you handle this group of guys? You know, over the next few days, just try to keep your spirits up. Yeah,
that's a great question. I mean, that's the $1 million question right there out of all of them. Those other questions are all for you guys. That question is for me. That's for us. That's a real question. Like, that's a real question. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I mentioned to the guys again, like, you know, I said this in the last play. We're not a finished product, obviously. There's a lot of growth potential and room for growth, and so it's hard to see that. It's hard to come back and roll your sleeves up tomorrow when you're not getting the successes that you hoped for, anticipated, just altogether expected that you would have. So just constantly talking about where we're going and what we have to do, and using, you know, there's some anecdotal stuff in there too. Like, you know, look, I think Texas A&M lost 9 games in a row last year at one point, and that's the beauty of this league. You don't ever want to lose 9 games in a row, but this league, because it's so good and where it's ranked in the country overall, typically, it's going to give you a chance for new life. But all you got to do is start playing well. You can't wait till the very end, but once you start playing well, when that happens, it'll be the right time. It'll be the right time. It won't be too late, almost hardly ever. If you start playing well, it won't be too late. And so just keeping the mindset of we're not there. We got to keep getting there. This is what we did. Can we make these adjustments? Can we see these things consistently? We've been working on these. Can we make those adjustments? Can we be tougher here? Can we not bail out of this situation? Can we dive into this? There's a loose ball there. All these things that have to do more with decisions. So just constantly reminding the guys of that, and it's that group of guys, my staff, and me, and those are the ones that we have to listen to the most, right? It's hard. They consume information at an astronomical rate, and so it's hard for them to stay within the confines of what our group is and our voices and what we're doing and be locked into what that is and how we improve. If we were already there, this would be disappointing if we were already there. We're not there. We're not there. Clearly we have some work to do so.